I'm very happy to be here. Thank you so much for MBRF and UNDP for having me. This is a topic that we're really passionate about. Before we get started, I just wanted to talk to you guys a little bit more about 42 Abu Dhabi. So we are a coding school, but we are a school about disruptive education. And we employ gamification in our curriculum to ensure that our students stay motivated, that they stay working through it, that they have a unique experience. And our school specifically is one where we don't necessarily have traditional teaching, which means that students rely on collective intelligence, and the gamification process really ends up helping their peers stay motivated, stay in friendly competition within their peers. So it's something that we love, that we employ successfully in 42 Abu Dhabi, and we see the power of having it in multiple other systems. So what is gamification in education specifically? So gamified learning incorporates game elements into existing educational materials to increase engagement and motivation. So what does this mean? The interesting thing about this is essentially gamification is the red herring. It's what makes the curriculum or what you're trying to teach to the students interesting, that allows them to engage harder in a deeper level, allows them to stay motivated, allows them to work harder. And the whole point of the gamification is almost where they learn without realizing that they're learning, without realizing that learning is even occurring. Gamification is incredibly interesting because it takes on the concept of playing and play learning. The whole point is when you're having fun, the learning that happens with it is deeper, it lasts longer, the students have better recollection, and it's very, very, very effective. It's something that has been done in education for a long time, and it should even increase now with the advent of technology. So at 42 Abu Dhabi, we really believe that gamification is the key. And it not only just the key for developing their technical skills, but also their soft skills, which is very, very important. It helps them to make decisions, to adapt, to be agile, and to persevere. So some market statistics. The global game-based learning market size reached $18.4 billion. And it's going to grow at a rate of about 15% per year up to 2032. That's crazy. These statistics really go to show that the more learning experiences are engaging, the more demand there is for all these. With the new advent of new skills, ChatGPT, AI, all these other things that people want to learn more about, the more that you make that learning engaging, personalized, unique, the better it is for whatever you're trying to teach them, and also the more likely they are to retain that knowledge. So the role of gamification in promoting tailored educational experiences. So in coding specifically, and how we employ gamification really is the concept of personalized learning. So different than a traditional classroom setting, instead of having a one-size-fits-all approach, gamification really allows for tailor-made experiences. So you can see that, especially when you come to coding, the options into learning how to code are endless. You can go to Coursera, Udemy, there's YouTube, obviously, ChatGPT. The choices are endless. So which one works for you is one that you can relate to, that allows you to retain that information, and it makes you want to progress further. There's so many resources out there. It's a wonder that not everyone is a software developer, right? And the reason being is it does not necessarily appeal to everyone in every state. And so having different options available to the learners allows them to really kind of go after what makes sense to them, what they can retain, or what makes them want to proceed further. It's the same that you can see, for example, in language learning. A great example is something we were talking about earlier in Duolingo. Duolingo is one of the most successful language learning apps, specifically because of this gamification concept that allows you to compete, progress, etc. So with adaptive learning paths, students are kind of empowered to progress at their own pace. This is really important because If a student has mastered a concept, they can move on. If a student is lagging behind, they can spend more time on those. As you, that ability to discern pace and learn as you see fit is hyper important into retaining that information. It's huge for students to be able to then build onto concepts after and after. With what we have with coding, we tell the students, unless you mastered the basics, don't move on. Please, like, even if other students have moved on, don't move on, because it's like building a house. You need a stable foundation, which you end up adding walls and roof and things like that. It does not work if the foundation is not stable, if it's not something that you can absolutely rely on all the time. And it also helps, they want to cultivate a sense of autonomy. Students are then in charge of their learning and how much time they want to spend on it, and also which concepts that they want to spend more or less time on. And it helps match their skill level and also their interests, right? If they're less interested, they can move on a little bit quicker. So with coding specifically, it also helps to develop a growth mindset for the students, right? So instead of them seeing failure as a setback, in a game, failure is just another way to learn. If you look at platform games like Mario or the games of old, if something happened, if the character wasn't able to get past an obstacle, they would just keep trying until they were able to overcome that obstacle. Gamified learning, it's very, very similar. Any failure is not a setback. It's not I've now, had an issue with my education, or I'm now getting a zero in an exam. No, the point is, it's an opportunity to learn. It's an opportunity to revisit the concepts that you may not have been as secure as you could have been. And when you reframe specifically around coding as an iterative process, it really helps to instill the resilience that students need to be able to succeed. That is one of the most fundamental parts about coding specifically, because they need to realize that skills build up to themselves, and they need to realize how to progress through a curriculum to master the different skills. You cannot just start at the end. You need to go through the process. So how does gamification enhance engagement and enjoyment? There's a range of advantages when it comes to for learners, with increased attention, retention, and also the recall of information. The whole point is to reward the intrinsic needs of the students, right? That's how gamification really tackles the students and helps to tickle that part in their brain that competent to remain curious and remain pushing through it. And the motivation of competition is outstanding, but really immediate feedback really helps. And that's where these platforms really shine. Duolingo, when you make a mistake, it's instant. When you finish a lesson, it tells you exactly how you did, where you can improve. There are concepts, there are portions of the app that tell you where your mistake was, how you can go back and visit your mistakes. And that's so important because it creates these personalized learning paths. When you can go back and revisit your mistakes, they are personal to you. It is individual. It is your opportunity to learn further in those mistakes. And also, it helps build a sense of community. In 42 Abu Dhabi, we have levels. So students go through projects. Those projects have experience points. And then the more experience points you get, the better you go through and the higher level you are. This really helps the students to really sit there and say, oh, I'm level 2. Oh, I'm level 8. Oh, I'm level 6. This sense of community allows students to feel like all of them are doing similar things, or all of them are engaged in similar ways. And it's something that we found really, really works. Also, the spirit of competition. So at 42, we have coalitions. We've broken up the student body into 4 different houses. And these coalitions coalition against each other. They don't really earn anything. It's just points within the coalitions. But these fun competitions allow the students to really master the curriculum amongst themselves and also with the wider community. It really helps retention of students even. Students are more likely to come back because they feel connected. It helps students to step outside of their comfort zone or to meet people that they may not have even met before, other students. This is something that we found is instrumental in allowing the students to remain motivated. Also, often the feeling of achievement and progress. Students have mentioned so often how much they enjoy when they get to the next level, when they finish a project and they get experience points, or students will go above and beyond and submit bonus points so that they can get even higher levels. This has been so interesting for me because it's incredible to see how the students will amongst themselves also feel how they achieved something. Oh, I finally finished this project. I'm done with this level. I'm now level 3. It's such a sense of progress for them rather than, oh, I'm done with this class now, on to the next class. No, it's a different about, it's a different engagement, it's a different positive mindset that they go into when talking about these different projects. And the learning experience becomes much more immersive and more enjoyable. The students can feel like they're part of a game, which ends up making the learning, as I mentioned, almost happen subconsciously. There's a great project that we've seen here in Abu Dhabi specifically where they took a school and they made it specifically everything related to video games. They taught students how to broadcast competitive matches, how to host podcasts or programs. And really, what they're doing is using video games to attract the community. And the students are learning practical skills, broadcasting, podcasting, interviewing skills. These skills are fundamental for them to be able to get jobs because they're not only relevant to that industry, they're relevant to multiple other industries, and those skills remain with them, but they learned it through something that interested them. So it's almost like the learning is secondary, but it's not. It's just the second layer, whereas the topic that they're interested in is what drew them in and what allowed them to remain engaged. It's a very similar thing with the gamification of education. So, some ethical connotations, obviously, with anything. Most of these platforms are relying on technology to be able to function. These platforms allow the students to have individual learning paths, to go back, to review. And so, obviously, it's very important that educators should always want to strike a balance between a motivational tool and genuine learning, right? You can very easily fall too deep into just a video game and very go back into just a traditional setting. So it is a very fine balance. I think Minecraft EDU has done an amazing job where they took Minecraft and the Minecraft engine and applied it in an educational way that allows students to then understand how to build, how to explore, expand, and how things work from a coding perspective. I absolutely love it. And something like Duolingo, it's learning, but it's also fun. It's engaging. It's a bit like a game. There's also considerations around data privacy and data security, right? In the world of today, with nothing but data leaks happening all over the place, it's really important that the data is safeguarded because this data, especially their learning data, is entrusted to you as having that platform. And if they're developing their own projects like at 42 Abu Dhabi, that's also their intellectual property that is shared with you, right? So it's something to absolutely consider. And also how you collect the students' data and how you use it to, say, leverage the platform or make the platform better. That's also something to really be considered as well, to use it in an ethical way.